really hot all this upcoming work week. So let's get into the tropics. It's now Tropical Depression 4. It formed last night, still near Cuba, and it's expected to take that similar path to the north. It'll move through the eastern Gulf of Mexico through tomorrow into early Sunday, and then it looks like landfall could be in the vicinity of the Big Bend of Florida, and then it looks like it will still curve off to the northeast towards Georgia and into the Carolinas throughout the middle of this week. But into the work week, it's going to be a hard thing to forecast right now because it might just sit over just offshore of the Carolinas, so that is something we'll be watching for them this week. But again, no impacts expected for us in the New Orleans area. So this is Tropical Depression 4. What do we have? We have sustained winds at 30 miles per hour, gusting up to 40, still moving to the west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. Not a lot has changed with the details of this, but it is expected to strengthen and intensify later today, probably to a tropical storm. So if it does, it will be Tropical Storm Debbie. It will get the name Debbie later today. And, you know, as it sits and slows down over the eastern Gulf of Mexico, it's hot water, it's bath water. It could strengthen even more, maybe close to hurricane strength before landfall somewhere in the Big Bend of Florida late Sunday, early Monday. So Florida will be seeing the big impacts from this later this weekend into early Monday, and then it will make that curve to the northeast towards Georgia and then into South and North Carolina through Tuesday and Wednesday, and it will be slowing down because it will lose its steering current. So there's going to be a lot to watch in the coming days for the southeast U.S. that may have to deal with days of impacts from this. Tropical storm watches and warnings for the west coast of Florida, even a hurricane watch in effect for the Big Bend of Florida down to Cedar Key. You know, just last year they were impacted by that hurricane. It was an ice storm, brought them some pretty serious weather last summer, the Big Bend. So they'll be seeing some impacts from this later this weekend. Tallahassee included into those tropical storm watches at the moment. And again, hurricane watches for the Big Bend of Florida down to Cedar Key along the coastline of the Big Bend of Florida. Tampa Bay also in tropical storm warning down into Marco Island, down to Fort Myers. So the west coast of Florida into the Big Bend will be seeing those big impacts. Strong gusty winds, heavy rain, and potential storm surge up to maybe 2 to 4 feet for the west coast of Florida. Rainfall totals anywhere from 6 to 8 inches in Florida, especially the west side of Florida. But then check out the Carolinas. Just offshore is going to be the heaviest rain. But still, right along the coastline of the Carolinas and Georgia, maybe pushing up to 10 inches of rain. So they'll be dealing with some flooding, unfortunately, from this in the coming days. As for us here at home, really, we're going to be trending dry in the New Orleans area, except for today. We'll have a few scattered storms because of a front. Here's the storm surge potential, the worst of it being from the Big Bend down to Cedar Key, Cross City, 3 to 5 feet of storm surge for them. So that is going to be likely the worst of it. Now, again, the path can still vary a little bit, can still change up. It's really going to be crucial for Floridians to watch this to know where the worst impacts will be felt. Tampa Bay, 2 to 4 feet of surge possible, and down south towards Marco Island, south of Fort Myers, 1 to 3 feet. And also Franklin County, Florida, so Apalachicola, that'd be the west side of the Big Bend, also expecting maybe 1 to 3 feet of storm surge west of Tallahassee. So that is what we have for Florida. What is driving this thing? We've been talking about this the last couple of days, the high pressure off to the east, the trough coming down. That trough is going to bring us the front today. And the trough will help pull what will be Debbie probably later today, Tropical Storm Debbie, maybe getting close to hurricane strength before landfall in the Big Bend late Sunday. To the northeast, and that's what's going to be pulling it. But then it will lose the steering current, and that's why it might just sit and just spin for days maybe. It's hard to say what will happen for the new work week, but so far the models have been keeping it kind of just hanging out off the Carolinas and off of Georgia, off the southeast coast, and just meandering there for days, which would be not good. It would be unfortunate because that's days of rain and onshore winds for them. So that's something we'll be watching for the southeast U.S. this week. What will this do? Hopefully it'll get pulled up to the northeast and it won't sit there for too long, but it might sit there for a while this week. So this takes it into Friday. As for us in the New Orleans area, high pressure is going to be in control of our weather. That's why it's going to be so hot